Hey everybody, I'm Kevin Winchell. I'm the director of the BONNER program here at Stetson.
Hey y'all, my name's Taylor Hibel. I'm the assistant director of BONNER.
And we've been told that you all have lots of questions about the history of BONNER and what makes a good BONNER and what we're looking for in applications and everything else. So one of our really cool BONNERs has asked us to answer those questions for you. So
We love talking about BONNER, so it makes sense.
Yeah. So a little bit about what BONNER is and why it started. When you think about the purpose of BONNER, you have to think about the purpose of higher education. So the founding purpose of higher education is not just to help students make more money than if they'd only gone to high school. The founding purpose of higher education is to create the citizens who are going to help us solve the most pressing challenges facing our world. And we like to think of it here at Stetson as the university having an academic mission, which is focused on the question of what are you learning? And also a civic mission, which doesn't ask just what are you learning, but why are you learning what you're learning, and how are you going to use that to solve the most pressing challenges facing our world. And so when we think about BONNER, we think about a program that is designed exactly with the academic and civic missions in mind. So not only are you going to be able to go deeper with your academic interests, your majors and minors and courses you're taking and everything else, but you're also able to go deeper with learning how you can figure out what the issues are that need to be solved in our local and national, international communities that relate to that discipline or that academic field that you're interested in. So that if you're interested in, say, the environment, and you care deeply about the environment, you not only learn that academically, you can go further and faster there, but you're learning how to also identify what the major challenges are that are environmental challenges, locally, globally, and all of that, and how to bring your skills to bear in a setting so that you can do something about those challenges. That's really what BONNER is about, is figuring out how you can take what you're really good at, what you love doing, what you're passionate about, and apply that to something that will improve people's lives in some way. That's what really comes to mind for me when I think about why BONNER exists and everything else. Anything else for you, Taylor?
I think just that sweet spot, so that synergy of connecting your academic interests, your career interests, and a community need, and really making a difference, not just caring deeply about something, but actually acting on that. And I think that that's rare in high school and college, to actually be able to act on your passions and values. And I think that our program is really incredible that we get to help facilitate that.
Yeah, and your point about the sweet spot and comparing, looking at what students typically have when they're coming from high school versus like what we're looking for. This is another question that people often ask of us is, what are we looking for when we're looking through applications and everything else and deciding about interviews and all of that for BONNER. And I think part of what you said is that piece about what do students typically have when they're in high school, and what would set someone apart from everyone else. And I think usually in high school, Stetson's a place that attracts a lot of students who have an interest in community service, who have a history of doing work in high school, maybe with Key Club or through National Honor Society or Interact or bunch of other clubs. And that's great, and we certainly want students who do that sort of work. But I think what's different and what sets some students apart is that in high school perhaps they go a little bit deeper than other students do. Is that perhaps, to your point, Taylor, they connect it to an issue that they care deeply about, and then they connect that issue to something that they love to learn about. And so that's the sweet spot that you were getting at there a moment ago. And some students I see, I've been reading BONNER applications for about 15 years now. So a couple thousand now under my belt. And the ones that stand out most to me are those who have some sort of issue that upsets them to the point of action. and they're able to talk about it. They show their knowledge about it. They show their direct experience with it. They talk about how it makes them feel and why it makes them feel that way. That they connect it to a sense of purpose, and they connect it to perhaps what they want to do with their lives. And that's not to say that they need to have it all figured out, because I think there's a lot of value in that process of discovery. But certainly having that orientation and that direction is really helpful for me. What are you looking for?
Yeah, I think this was my first time reading applications, which I think was really interesting to learn from you, just since you had done it, but coming in with fresh eyes. I think the people that really stood out were, like you were saying, people with a lot of passion and people who could talk really clearly and articulately about what they cared about and why they cared about it and what they wanted to do about it. Maybe they hadn't already, acted on this issue, but they had a clear idea of what they'd like to do in the community. And I think that really makes people stand out, that passion and that sense of purpose.
That action piece that you picked up on is really important. I think that's certainly something that can also make people stand out a bit more. When they show that they have taken action in a way. Because when we're asking you what upsets you to the point of action, it's great if you talk about something that upsets you, but it's even better if you talk about the action that you've taken because of that thing. That shows that it actually is something that upsets you to the point of action. And so, like you said, Taylor, we don't expect every student to have that, because we certainly know that being able to do this work is often a privilege that is afforded to people who may not have to have a job while they're in high school, or a second job, or things like that. Sometimes you have to take care of a younger family member, or an older family member, or somebody who's sick, or something
There's
like that.
There's all sorts of circumstances.
Yeah. And so we want to get a sense of that in the application too, if there are barriers to entry that you've experienced, but that despite those barriers, you still have a sense of your purpose and your interests and how those can connect and everything else. That's critical. And we recognize that it's a privilege for anybody to be able to do that work, but we don't want that to get in people's way still of being able to get into the program, because certainly some of our strongest bonners ever have been students who didn't really have a lot of experience perhaps when they were in high school, but who had a fire burning inside of them, and you could tell from the moment that you began that interview.
They have those deep values. They really truly feel and believe in justice, activism, community. Mm-hmm. They are collaborators. They are innovators. They want to make positive, sustainable change.
Yes.